Empire. The modern team meets the demands of the modern fan.
It went viral. Fans loved it. They loved being able to have a say in it. And that has served as sort of like the golden standard for teams that we work with.
That's Vaidhy Murti, CEO of WIT, who is helping teams find ways to engage with their fans in fun and modern ways. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. Vaidhy Murti is a huge sports fan, and he used his background in technology to find a way to be part of all the action by creating games and modules that help teams meet their fans where they want to be met. Our guest this week is Vaidhy Murti. He is the CEO of WIT, which is an enterprise software company in the fan engagement and consumer data workspace. And he's working with brands across sports teams all across many of the major leagues throughout the country. Hi, Vaidhy. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Brad. I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me. How are you?
Let's talk about fan engagement in the present and the future. And let's start with what your company WIT does.
Absolutely. So WIT is the leading digital activation platform across pro sports teams in North America. We work with a lot of college sports as well. Essentially, we create exciting, supercharged digital experiences that can engage fans, drive revenue, help teams collect first-party data. They can range from simple enter to win to prize wheels to trivia games to bracket challenges, but each one is a bite-sized experience that achieve their various objectives.
Okay, give me some of the elaborate ones. What are some examples of some ones that aren't the simple ones that you just mentioned?
So I have to go with a local example here. So the New York Giants, my favorite football team growing up, shout out Giants, are celebrating their 100th anniversary season this year. And as part of that, they have a very large multi-pronged campaign, which includes a really nice logo and some jerseys that fans have lots of thoughts about.
That's a different discussion, Vaidhy, for another podcast, I think. But go ahead, yeah.
One of the big initiatives they had is they wanted to celebrate the best moments throughout Giants history, and so us Giants fans remember a lot of them. But it's a great opportunity to go back in time and look at some of the greatest moments from like Giants past. And essentially, they're running out a 100th anniversary bracket challenge with us. So we have a bracket product that we built out. This is actually in honor of the late Rick Jeanneret. So one of the most famous hockey announcers of all time, who did 51 years at the Sabres. And we initially built this out for his retirement, but the way it works is you can put exciting HD videos in a Sweet 16 style bracket challenge. Fans can kind of vote head to head and elect their favorite video across the board. And what the Giants are actually doing is they're splitting it up into 4 separate quadrants. So instead of 16, they wanted to start with 64. So if you go to giants.com/bracket right now, you can kind of see the entire thing laid out. But that would be one of the more involved digital experiences. The partner on that, I think, is Hackensack Meridian Health. And so it's a great opportunity for one of their partners to continue to gain awareness through a cause that they want to be associated with. But I think the most exciting part for us is the fans. And even for myself, like going back and watching some of these moments in history, going through the archives, it gives you chills, and it's just a really fun, exciting, wholesome experience as a longtime fan.
So that's really cool. All right. So when teams come to you, they want simple ideas and they want elaborate ideas. Are you ideating these things on their behalf, or are they coming to you and asking you to execute these ideas that they have for themselves?
It's a great question, Bram. So we started out with one digital activation product. It was a video contest that was really born out of the aftermath of COVID. And so teams did not have ways to generate content from fans at home. And it was the first time for me as a big basketball fan that I'd ever seen the NBA played in a bubble without fans in the stands. And you had those screens on the sides of the court where people were videoing in. But it started off with one product that would allow teams to source content from fans at home. And from there, the platform has evolved substantially. We like to say that many of our best ideas come directly from our teams. And so we get requests. The bracket, for example, was a direct request from the Buffalo Sabres. It came in the form of, hey, WIT team, we want to do something really cool for Rick Jenneret around March Madness. We're thinking bracket. Can you help us with it? And so we'll work with them hand in hand to ideate, design out what a product could look like, execute the product, ideally build it in a way where it is relatively modular and other teams can benefit from the core product work that we're doing, and we'll take it to market. And so we have grown the platform substantially. We have, easy, simple enter to wins that we can help execute, but then we also are involved in like many more substantial campaigns. So we did a couple other examples when the Cleveland Browns wanted to bring a logo back to their 50-yard line a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They came to us and they wanted us to essentially put it in a giant vote to win activation where fans could actually select what was going to go at the 50-yard line. And Brownie the Elf was the eventual winner. And so it went viral. Fans loved it. They loved being able to have a say in it. And that has served as sort of like the golden standard for teams that we work with. Whenever they want to let fans have a say in something, they'll utilize that. So the Jaguars right now are doing the exact same thing for their 30th anniversary. They wanted to let fans have a say in what logo they should use. And so they essentially use the same concept with their own custom twist on it, and it's done really well. So I think part of it is we love helping teams bring new products to market because we just genuinely love this. We're huge sports fans and we love building technology. Part of it is like we have this ecosystem where everybody benefits from like the collective ideas and collective wisdom of everybody working across the different teams in the sports landscape.
So how did you get into, obviously you're a big sports fan. How did you end up getting into this field?
Yeah. So my whole life I wanted to be a starting point guard in the NBA. And I feel like when I got to ninth grade, I realized that dream was not going to be a reality. And I switched to tennis for a while and I was like, maybe I can do that. But I've been a huge sports fan my entire life, absolutely obsessed. And I actually never could have dreamed of being directly in this field. I think sports and technology are two of my favorite things. And so we as a team get to wake up every day and I'd say live our version of the dream. And it's been really, really fun. The way this journey originally started, my background is in consumer social. So before this, I ran a separate company called Frenzy. It was a college social network / dating app many, many years ago now. So back in 2012 was when that started. So my whole background was in consumer social. This company started as a video contest platform for just end consumers. And so we had an app where we would run these weekly themed video contests, ran that for about 2.5 years. And it was tough, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. And we had eventually wanted to find a way to white label the core tech so that anybody that had a large engaged audience could utilize it. And when the NBA came back to the bubble after the pandemic, we thought it could be a great opportunity to try reaching out to sports teams. And we had a couple of pilots that went well, and it was awesome. We loved it, and the rest is history.
So do you kind of link the pandemic to teams realize this necessity? Obviously, fortunately, this was seems short-lived now, maybe not at the time, but like there was a realization that they need to engage with their fans differently at that time, which is what kind of exploded this business a little bit for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So from our understanding, I think what the pandemic did, and a very unfortunate situation, like deeply sad, and I think it was a very difficult time for everybody in the world. And so I think as it relates to sports was a way to try to unite people, bring people together, give people something to cheer for, to look forward to. Many teams through that process realized that 95 to 99% of their fans never stepped foot in their home team's arena. And so I think like that realization that these fan bases are truly national and oftentimes international, and there's so much focus being put on the in-game experience and what's happening with the 20,000 fans or the 60,000 fans who are physically at a game, not thinking about the vast majority of fans who, may move all over the country or move all over the world, but are still so tied to their loyalty and their support of their home team. And so teams were looking for ways to engage all of those fans. And I think that is why we see the catalyst of digital activations like becoming the norm as teams continue to try to reach out to their fans across like any kind of digital channel. So lots of teams have apps, they have large email databases now, social channels. So in addition to, you can be a Giants fan in New Jersey, and you can also be a Giants fan in California, and you can also be a Giants fan like all across the world. And so if I'm sitting in the team seat and I'm looking to engage all of those fans together, essentially digital tools will unlock a new power for me. So I think that was a big category. And then the other big category of it is sponsorship. And so we have lots of sponsors becoming increasingly savvy and requesting more than just a logo slap, which has been the norm in sports sponsorships for a long time. They want to create digitally meaningful, impactful ways to increase their brand affinity through these sponsorships. And I think we provide solutions in that realm as well.
Future Sport is a presentation of Empire Media, a B2B and B2C podcast and digital company dedicated to making your business or brand be heard. Internal or external content creation that will have a lasting impact on your strategy, consulting, creation, and production, all to help you effectively communicate your message in any marketplace. Learn more at Empire Media, empiremedia.com. Let's continue our conversation with Vaidhy Murti, who is the CEO of WIT. So you work with the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, MLB, NCAA, National Lacrosse League, the NWSL, the WNBA, the MLS. When I was your age, you're around 30, right? The conversation would end at NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, NCAA. That'd be it. We're in a very different space with a lot of different leagues and a lot of different teams. Is the need for what you're doing exemplified by the variety of options that fans have and the numerous different outlets that they could spend their time with?
It's a fantastic question, Bram. I think it speaks to society and people's desires to watch sports, consume sports. Fandom in general, I think, is on the rise across the board. I think with the younger generations as well, they're fans of individual players more so than teams at some point as well. I think like for you and I, we grew up supporting teams, and I think like I look at my nephew and he grows up supporting specific players instead of teams. But it's been awesome watching so many leagues come into existence. I think the growth of women's sports has been long overdue, and it's been absolutely phenomenal to watch. Really just like taking over the world in the past couple of years, especially WNBA, NWSL. I think there are other opportunities. So I'm a huge cricket fan as well, and cricket has always been a very big global sport. I think after soccer, the second most consumed sport, but finally it's making its way to America as well. So Major League Cricket is in their second season now, and they just got list A status by the ICC, essentially just recognizing that it's going to be a league where records are kept. And the Cricket World Cup is coming here as well next week. And so I will be at all of the matches that I can possibly get to. But I think with the expansion of so many other leagues, I know there's pickleball, which has been really big. There's TGL. We're recently going to be working with one of the TGL teams as well. And so I think there's going to be like continued innovation as these leagues continue to pop up. I think it just is a reflection of consumer demand. I think people love sports. They love consuming like different types of sports. They love the opportunity for sports to be more accessible. I think pickleball is a great example. It got so many people out and about, and it engaged like a very wide demographic of fans. It wasn't something that you needed highly specialized equipment for. Like you can buy, well, I guess there probably are highly specialized pickleball.
There are
paddles,
now.
But you can pick one up and you can go to the local park and you can play. And so I think the barrier to entry is lower. And I think people just love it.
I think the question also goes back to, do some of these teams, specifically legacy teams, are they feeling more competition to the point where they have to be creative to continue to maintain the fan engagement levels that I think they probably, I don't know if they felt entitled to, but there wasn't as much competition for the time spent viewing and the time spent engaging. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's a very good point. I think it's very true. There are certain leagues that continue to dominate linear TV and continue to dominate streaming that I think will continue to have success, but there's definitely more competition for attention now than ever, especially with the younger demographics. And so I've heard like a variety of stats about how younger generations, Gen Z and younger, consume sports. And I think with the conversations that we've had with our existing partners across all teams and all leagues, engaging kind of the younger demographics has been paramount for everyone. They're all looking to find ways to create that fandom. And yeah, it really is like as more and more teams and more leagues pop up where there's opportunities to create situations of competition that didn't previously exist. I think it definitely is important to be like, if you can, like cutting edge, digitally savvy, and you're competing sometimes in the same market, right? So you'll have markets like LA where I think maybe there are like 11 pro sports teams, and there's one consumer, right? So for every person, they're probably not going to have two favorite basketball teams and two favorite soccer teams. You have to find a way to stand out. And I think there are lots of different ways that teams are doing that across leagues. And in the NFL, most recently, I had to call out schedule release, and we've seen teams year over year spend so much time and money creating these like very, very intricate schedule release videos. And some of them have done really well and some of them have gone viral. And I think they've won fans as a result of it. And so through a combination of content, innovation, even sometimes like stadium upgrades and in-game presentation stuff, teams are definitely feeling it a little bit and are in active competition for eyeballs and attention.
Okay, so you obviously you have these deals with the teams and you work creatively to do these digital activations with them. What do fans want? What are you hearing from fans about how they want to engage with sports teams?
I think fans want personalization. So if I'm a fan of a team and the team is just sending me super generic emails and communications that are not like relevant to me, it's not going to be as impactful or as powerful as getting like that highly personalized communication. So the Cavs are a great example of one of the teams that we've worked with for many years. Phenomenal organization in terms of a front office, super savvy. I think they've spent a lot of time investing and innovating in not just technology, but just a culture. And so like when Max Strus hit his 59-foot game winner buzzer beater, the next day, I think the next morning itself, they already had a t-shirt printed with like a picture of that shot on it. And they were running an activation with us to promote that. But I think if I'm a Cavs fan and I really like Max Strus, I want personalized content. And I think teams have been trying to do that throughout their apps and throughout like all of their digital touch points. But as we continue to like move forward and attention spans decrease, and as I mentioned, like the younger fans are drawn to specific players more so than they are to even teams, I think personalization is the name of the game. Trying to create a real, authentic, one-to-one connection with individual fans instead of trying to, send generic messages to a very wide, diverse fan base. And then, of course, like as it relates to WIT, I think fans love winning free things. They love the opportunity to participate in things that can get them once in a lifetime experiences. And so a lot of our activations allow them to engage with teams in like a very fun, exciting, unique, authentic way that they may not have had the opportunity to do before.
That's interesting. Let me ask you, and this might be too vague of a question, but when you start doing campaigns with a team, do they have, forever teams would have almost the same promotions in stadium every year? You could almost count on it. In this new modern era, when you are doing these type of activations, is there that kind of shelf life? Could you run this bracket again somewhere else next year, or are people wanting something different constantly?
It's a really good question, Brim. The beauty of our platform is the Giants can run a bracket for 100th anniversary. And if they wanted to, they could run a bracket next year for Daniel Jones's best plays. And if they wanted to, they could run a bracket the next year after that for the best Giants jersey of all time. And I think we both know which one is not going to advance very far in that bracket based on the fan outcry. But I think like for us, many of our digital activation products can be repurposed across other teams in other markets for other reasons. So the Miami Heat ran a bracket with us where they were essentially trying to figure out from fans what they thought was the greatest Heat uniform of all time. And to no one's surprise, the Vice uniform won. But it was just a very unique utilization of the product. And so, yes, I think there is fan fatigue if you were to run these over and over and over and over again. Eventually, you will find drop off, and fans won't be as engaged. But one of the reasons, like, our platform exists, and one of the reasons we provide so many different types of digital activations and so many unique ways to engage with fans is so that fans can participate in a whole host of different experiences throughout the course of a season, even the off season. And then teams have the ability to utilize different activations to celebrate different important moments, different tent poles. Like, we have activations that are always used for schedule release. In the NFL, we have a custom schedule predictor activation. There are teams that are always doing things for draft that are different. There are fun, family-friendly, kid-friendly activations that teams are running out for training camp. And then everything will, kick into high gear after Labor Day and when the NFL is in full swing. But I think what we try to recommend to our partners is utilizing a variety of different digital activations, different touch points, different types of content to ensure that the messaging is fresh. And so far, I think they've been able to achieve that. But we'll have to see how things continue to evolve. The key, in my opinion, is to keep innovating, right? So the moment you stay stagnant and the moment you're just putting the same thing out over and over and over again is the moment you're behind. And so, like, our company fosters a very deep culture of innovation. We are always looking to get better. We're always looking to build the next cool product that we think will be a hit with fans. And again, many of those ideas and many of those conversations stem from existing relationships we have with our partners.
Okay, last thing. I just want to revisit the idea of why teams do this. And there's an obvious answer to that. But what their end game is, and if you talk them through what that end game is the object to drive people back to buying tickets? Is it to buy merchandise? Is it just to engage with them? And what value is in that if that's just for a fleeting moment of reminding you that you like this brand? Could you kind of take me through how you think about end game ideas when you're putting these activations together with teams?
Absolutely. So our goal is always to create the most positive, most immersive experience for fans and to help teams crush their objectives, whatever they are. And as you mentioned, sometimes it's driving ticket sales, selling a single game, selling premium, maybe selling suites. Sometimes it's merchandise sales. Sometimes it's purely fan engagement around something that, like, the anniversary activations are usually fan engagement plays, right? Like, how can we remind fans that this is a very big moment in time for us? Sometimes it's adding value for partners. Essentially, though, I think everything comes back to engaging fans and driving revenue. And so ultimately, most of these teams are interested in, like, growing their fan bases and then creating more personalized connections so that they can increase the lifetime value of a fan, right? And that fan will maybe start a family one day and create more fans of the team, right? So essentially creating that long-lasting connection that lasts the test of time, making sure that the team is relevant, that they stay top of mind. And then for the corporate partners as well, it comes back to driving revenue, but how can we break out of our shell of doing kind of the traditional logo slaps that we're used to doing and create these innovative, exciting digital assets that might actually create deeper affinity for the partner and also help the partner potentially tap into our own fan base. And so is there a way to let a partner create an opportunity to capture first-party data from our own fans as a team? And can we position that as some kind of digital asset we can sell to them? So I think fan engagement and driving revenue are the two big pillars. And there are many, many, many different ways that the teams are driving revenue through the platform.
Vaidhy Murti is the CEO of WIT. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Brim.
That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.